Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Good evening, friends. Welcome back to Kardec Radio. This is the 6 p.m. Prayer for Peace, and my name's Teresa Castro, and I host this program every Sunday. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for anyone who may be new out there listening to this later on demand. Please feel a big welcome, and I hope you'll plan to come back and join us again. So always before our prayer, we do a message, have a message, uplifting spiritist message. And today this message comes out of the book, Watch and Pray, which is by the Spirit Joseph, and it is psychographed through the medium Carlos Baccelli. And it's page 79. It's entitled Provocations. But first, to just remind ourselves a little bit about Carlos Baccelli. He's a medium. He was born in Uberaba, state of Minas Gerais, in 1952 in Brazil. He's married. He has 2 children. He has training in dentistry, and he also worked in the Brazilian post office. He is a writer and a journalist. He's contributed to a great deal of disseminating Spiritism. He even published several books with Chico Xavier. And for 3 years, he took part in a television program called Explaining Spiritism, which was on the local TV station in Brazil. And he has a nursery that he maintains for children. And then he also has a home that shelters the elderly. And all of this is, of course, for people without financial resources. So he does a lot of charity work. Also through his mediumships, he psychographs words of consolation for people who are, seeking to connect with those who have passed on. And then the Spirit, Brother Joseph, I'm sorry, I have no information. I'm unable to give any information on Brother Joseph. So, but he is a spirit that goes by the name Brother Joseph. And works with Carlos Baccelli. So anyway, back to the message, which is entitled Provocations. And it's page 79 if you happen to have the book. And I do not think this book has been translated into English. There's just different groups, spiritist centers out there that are, translating things and making them available. Not in a book form, but more just for study and education. Okay, so let's think about this before we start reading it. Provocations. So if we just look at the dictionary, a definition we get is the deliberate action or speech that results in annoying or anger of another. Provocation is also a stimulus. So just to break that down a little bit so the message can make even more sense to us. So here we begin. This is the message from Brother Joseph. Provocations. Do not accept provocations. Take the initiative to end any discussion. Do not let the argument escalate. What fraternal dialogue does not resolve is a complicated discussion. Silence and time are the great allies of truth. Do not pretend to care about anyone. A lot of energy is wasted in useless conversation. If someone misinterprets you, then do not explain more than necessary. Those who open their mouths slightly to watch out end up opening it wide. Do not get caught up in those who try to get you mad. Instead of stooping to the level of the container, make it rise to yours. It's an awesome message by Brother Joseph. Thank you so much. So let's better understand some of this. Do not accept provocations. So immediately I start thinking, well, we can't control other people. And if they're deliberately doing that, but it's clear, he says, do not accept it. So we're not a victim. He says, take the initiative to end any discussion. Do not let the argument escalate. So we're being asked to use our discernment and recognize what it is that we are experiencing, the energy we're experiencing that, because usually we can feel that if someone is deliberately trying to annoy us, we can feel the energy maybe not right, or maybe we don't understand it. But if we can, have that foresight to see that this may not be going any place good, he says, take the initiative to end any discussion. So cut it short. And on the other hand, people may misinterpret this as, oh, I got to get the last word in. That's not what he's saying. I think he's saying, don't let the argument get out of control. And especially when we have felt that something's off. We maybe can't put our finger on it, but we know something's not right in this conversation, is to, not let that get out of control and escalate. So it would be better to end the conversation, walk away, so to speak. I mean, it's basically what Jesus said to his disciples when, he said, not everyone is going to understand you or want to understand you or agree with you. And he said, just, that's when you shake the dust off your sandals and you keep moving. And here, Brother Joseph says, if someone misinterprets you, then don't explain more than necessary. And how often, I know this has happened to all of us, when someone doesn't understand us, we repeat ourselves and keep repeating ourselves and repeating and again, and maybe we try to say it in different ways. They don't understand. And there was another time that Jesus was talking to one of the apostles, the apostle Jude, and he was kind of, despondent because he didn't really understand why Jesus could heal some of these obsessor spirits and they couldn't. And, of course, there's the whole thing about if you had faith of a mustard seed, there's that end of it. But also, Jesus told him at that time, he said, people do not change by words. So the idea that I'm going to put someone straight or I'm going to make them understand, or I just need to tell them this and then they'll understand and then everything will be okay. No, it oftentimes does not happen. And I know in one of Rudolf Steiner's books, who, he's not a spiritist, he's anthroposophist, but, he too was a medium and had very, very similar ideas as Kardec. And he said, oftentimes when people try to negotiate and debate and discuss, he said, they just often end up misunderstanding each other even more. So I think that's interesting that, there's much information about how trying to talk things out sometimes doesn't always work. And it's not to say, we should never try to talk or approach somebody, but maybe not have the expectation that we're going to be able to put them right, by telling them. It's true. We just cannot impose. And when I think about myself, think about yourself, when someone tries to impose something on you, it's not useful. because unless it's coming from our own insides, it's probably not going to really stick with us or come from our own heart. So he says, do not pretend to care about anyone. And I thought that was interesting. But I think the key word here is pretend. And how often have we gone to other people, or maybe people have come to us and said, I'm concerned about you. I, blah, 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 blah. And it's usually filled with a lot of conditions and superficiality, maybe. So I think the key word here is do not pretend to care about anyone, and that idea of like, I'm going to pretend like I'm so concerned so then I can, tell you my viewpoints and why I'm right, and, why you need to do it differently. So I think this is important in understanding that idea that pretending to care is not effective. What doesn't come from the heart doesn't reach the heart. And he says a lot of energy is wasted in useless conversation. How true. Also when he says, if someone doesn't understand us, don't try to explain more than is necessary, because they don't understand. But in the book Thought and Life, Emmanuel writes a whole chapter on understanding, chapter 10. And he says, it's the basis of our renewal. So I feel like for us as spiritists, if we don't understand somebody, I think we are being invited to try to understand. It's a practice of indulgence. To at least say, I don't understand, but I'm going to stay in love with this. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole of they're bad because they don't agree with me, or I don't understand them, or they don't make sense to me. I think it is really important for us to try to understand. We can't impose on other people and say they need to understand, but we as spiritists realize that, Emmanuel tells us in that chapter, it is the basis, understanding others is the basis for our renewal. And he talks about, freeing ourselves from the shackles of our past. And how? Doing the good, seeking the good, molding the good, thinking the good, with all the resources we have at hand. That, it is that striving. And Brother Joseph reiterates this when he says, do not get caught up in those who try to get you mad. So sometimes, we can really feel that purposeful, someone kind of jabbing us in the side, so to speak, that they're really trying to harass us or egg us on. And he says, instead of stooping to the level of the container, make it rise to yours. So just as Emmanuel sends us the message of striving high, keeping ourselves elevated, focused on the good, trying to reach for the highest, no matter what other people around us are doing or not doing. It's quite beautiful. So if you have the book Thought and Life, which is available in English, I encourage you to get it and read it. It's a small read. It's not a very fat book. It's maybe about as fat as this book. And it's an incredible book. It really helps us to understand that thought is life, and what happens to us, a lot of it begins within our thought pattern. So now I invite you all to relax and join me in a prayer for peace. And this peace that we pray for is for world peace, knowing that this world peace begins in each and every heart. Divine Creator, Blessed Mother, we bring ourselves to this prayer, to this present moment with you, allowing ourselves to feel your divine love, your divine light, saturate and rain down upon us, allowing the energies around us to be cleared, cleaned, rejuvenated, so that we may better connect with you, our higher selves, and all the good spirits on high. And we pray for inspiration, for protection, and guidance. In seeking this peace, this sister brotherhood of earthly peace, and knowing and allowing that it begins in each and every heart, without imposition, without dogma, but love, having goodwill for all indiscriminately, forgiveness of ourselves and others, and indulgence, recognizing the shortcomings in others and overlooking them without judgment, bitterness, resentment. And we bring this prayer back to the present moment in gratitude for the many blessings we have received day after day, and the assurance in knowing we are never abandoned, we are never alone, we are always cared for by a loving, serving, understanding, compassionate God. And we ask for help for our brothers and sisters who may be facing great challenges more than ourselves. We pray for world leaders. We pray for those who are in powerful positions in politics, religion, and science, that the world may better come to know ourselves not only as human, but as spirit as well. And in that, recognizing our duty and responsibility to each other, accepting the will and divine plan. We pray for all children, the elderly, those who may be contemplating suicide, those who feel abandoned, those who have lost their connection with you, who do not know you yet. We pray that they may be receptive to the helping hands that you send their way, that they may recognize an alternative, that they may feel gratitude in their heart for sacred life. And we humbly ask permission to close this prayer session. Thank you so much, friends, for joining me. I hope we can all meet up again next week, same time, same station, Kardec Radio, where we're always nourishing our souls. And let's go forward this week, trying to carry out an act of kindness for someone else just because it's the right thing. Many blessings to you all. Have a great week. See you soon.